Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Sarah Albadwi and Andy Serling with a lot to talk about and not a lot of time to talk about it. We got 11 race card. We got about 40 plus minutes here to talk about them. We'll head over to NYRA Bets, use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. Play through NYRA Bets, any track, anywhere, anytime. Got all sorts of things here. We got a 10% exacta bonus at Keeneland. We got something at Delaware, right, Eddie? We got a 10% win bonus at Delaware. We have a 5,000 hit and split here at Aqueduct on the late pick 5. That's the pick 5 that goes races 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Math is hard. We have a cross country showing those Maryland Million races today on America's Day at the Races, and it also includes the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth, which I'm going to guess is the last Grade 1 until the Breeders' Cup.
I think that is correct.
Pretty going out on a limb there on that one.
I think you'd be right.
Finally, we're on from 1 to 2:30 on FS2. Then we go to 2:30 to 4:30 on YouTube, and then 4:30 to 5:30 on FS2. I will be on early. You will be on late.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You ready? Race number 1. Let's show Royal Riddle and Top Player. I believe Top Player is your top choice in here.
That is
and
correct.
let you talk about this race.
Look, he improved a lot.
Start too, by the way.
And I don't really think that he stumbled that much at the start of this race. I think that he kind of more just bobbled a bit and
Swerved
then
in a little
went
bit.
towards
Yeah,
the
I agree
inside.
with you.
And I think that it was not really a true stumble situation.
But it affected him.
But he did have that veer in where he ended up then being behind horses, and it just seemed like he wanted to go but was in that tight spot. He angles out here and he kind of sputters in the lane and doesn't really have much to offer. But at the same time, I thought that he was one that maybe with that compromising beginning, maybe not getting out from the rail this time, he could improve. I thought that the horse that ended up nipping him for second in here did run well. But the stats first time blinkers for this one with their Joe Sharp, not really an enthusing
Blinker
stat.
changes are rarely positives. I think some blinkers off sometimes are kind of interesting, but in general, they're somewhat desperation moves. I agree with you. Of the two that ran out of that race, Top Player, for all the reasons you discussed, seems like the right one. On the other hand, I'm going to take Pride of the Union, who I thought had a bit of an interesting trip in his debut. He broke 3 to 1, 3/4 to a length slow in there. He made this big wide middle move in there before just sort of being eased at the 3/16 pole, a ride we see from Jose Ortiz quite often. And when I say eased him, it was over. He wasn't, he wasn't like
he knows he doesn't have horse.
He had no horse, but I think what it means is that 17 length defeat could be a 10 length defeat, and his figure could be just as good, if not better, than the other horses if they had ridden him out. I prefer Pride of the Union, but I have no argument with you with Top Player, who seems to be the horse to beat. Race number 2. So one of the questions in race number 2 is whether or not Looms Boldly's career is over.
I think that's already been answered.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we've seen mixed signals from the notice, right? We saw a couple horses off the claim run huge races. We saw a horse off the claim yesterday stink the joint up. So there's a lot of randomness to it. And he is, once again, the controlling speed. But it didn't even seem last time, Sarah, like he had the same speed he used to have.
No.
And so while, yeah, he's going to be in front in here, it just really, a wonder if he's just a horse that just isn't that good anymore. But I did put him second. He scares me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit colder on him than you are. I think that with the drop in class that we saw from him 2 starts back, where he was able to show some speed, maybe he didn't make the lead out and out right away in that start 2 back, but he was
pace.
Still, it was the last race. That's more
His
of
last
a
race
concern
was bad.
for me. Where
I'm with you.
He had the lead, and I just feel as though some other horses in this spot, if he's the good Looms Boldly, he should clear them. But he might not be as good as he once was in terms of that early speed. And there are other horses that their best way to win ends up being forward as well.
He is not as good as he once was, but that doesn't mean that he can't win here. I'm going to take the horse who's the morning line favorite, 10 Cent Town. We'll show his race last time. I know he's a horse that lately hasn't been finding the winner's circle. On the other hand, I think this is just a realistic spot for him. My problem in this race was there were a lot of horses I just didn't really want. Like,
Agreed.
I don't want Great Richie M, who's just coming out of, difficult barns to take horses from and moving up. Loco Barrio beat a just a ridiculous field last time. Gatsby's coming out of a much lower level race. So at least this horse is running against better horses. I'm not in love with him. I would use 3s and 1s in this race. What did I miss on Riyadh Moon?
I mean, last time was the time for this horse. That's obvious. So this one was coming from a little bit further off the pace, but he doesn't need to be as far back as he was last time. And I think it was more just a function of how that pace ultimately did play out with some horses that I saw moving up in class in here, as well as others that have done their better running by being forwardly placed. I think this one has a little bit of tactical ability coming in first off the claim for Horacio de Paz. And I like that they're not overly aggressive with a horse who just outside of that race 2 back seems to have some pretty consistent figures.
All right. I thought he won a conditional claiming race, but I'm not going to take a big stand in race number 2. Race number 3. We'll start the conversation with True Legend, showing the start of his last race where he broke a little over a length slow. And I have no argument he ran well here. My one problem with him, and listen, he broke a little slow, got himself back into the race, he ran well. He did kind of hang at the end. That kind of bothered me. I know that he broke slow, and it's very fair to say he ran the best race. But after breaking slow, he got such a good trip. And man, looking at the PPs of the horse he beat that came back on to beat him, it left a bad taste in my mouth. But I'm not going to tell you he can't win, because obviously he can win.
And originally I had some interest in the one in this race who isn't going to play today, but with him, it seemed as though he wasn't heavily bet first time out. He did hang a bit. I think that that's concerning, but at the same time, maybe he's one that needed that little bit of a start for the fitness and then comes in here now having that experience edge. Maybe he's one that could sort of sustain things a little bit more this time, and it was just a matter of his first race.
He's probably the horse to beat. We'll take a look at Chummer's race last time out. I think that Chummer's lost this race, and I'm not looking to beat up on Christopher Elliott, who I think rides well, because he drifted. And I don't think this is Christopher. This horse is drifting here. But the problem was the rail was pretty good that day, and the horse that beat him came up the rail. So it's not, his drifting that got him beaten. It's his drifting allowing the winner to get up the rail. That's probably what did him in. But I actually thought he ran well, and I preferred his race to the race of True Legends. Of the two, he's the one I'd like more.
That's fair. We just haven't really seen that race come back and be all that productive moving forwards. I know Laura Mason was trying some tougher spots where he was in against Stakes Company over at Kentucky Downs. That's always something you can forgive, and then did run third in his last start, getting back in against this type of company. But other than that, outside of that race, we haven't seen many horses really go on and progress.
Well, I don't think we're talking about a particularly good race. The 3's coming out of either, so I'm not really worried. I think his race sort of holds up to the figure he got. I'm going to take Kid Rich, the firster. I know he's a central banker, but he's after Colonel Tom, who I think is a Colonel John or something. It's not even like he's got a huge sire for turf, who was a good turf sprinter, a couple of turf sprinters in general. I'm going to take these race horses shipping down, because I don't think either the 3 or 7 are that good, and they are the 2 horses. So I'm going to go with the firster, something I don't normally do. Anybody else we need to quickly talk about?
There's a little turf pedigree going on with the number 5 Thurston, second-time starter, but we'll need to improve on the turf for sure.
Yeah, he's a frosted, too. He's not exactly a stellar turf influence. No. Race number 4, the Artie Schiller. We'll take a look at Major Dude, finishing third, 2 back to redistricting. He's probably a little better, maybe cutting back to the mile. I think will help him. He had a very good trip this day. The rail was the place to be. He stayed on it. But he's also not as good as redistricting, who got a perfect trip in here, came back to win the UN, and finished second. And our Joe Hirsch is just a better horse, beat him in this race. And I think I'm afraid that the favorite gets loose. And if the favorite gets loose, maybe he beats him. I just think Major Dude is better than him.
Yeah, and look, he's one that he's run against some of the best in the past. I don't think he's necessarily quite as good as he once was, but I don't think he really needs to be in this spot, because he has one main competitor towards his outside in here, and I think that he, drawing towards the inside, he's going to be able to be forward and not take himself too far out of things either, even with Big Everest coming in here as well. So I just didn't really see the big case to go against him completely, even if Big Everest gets the jump on him.
The horsepower should go here. I mean, I don't understand the mentality of stretching out sprinters and not trying to use their speed. And it's not as though Big Everest is that fast. So at the very least, horsepower is supposed to go. And if Big Everest wants the lead from him, he's got to run a little bit to get there. Now, unfortunately, that's just not the way, especially Dylan Davis rides. He's just usually very, very sort of apathetic coming out of the gate and letting people go. So I'm a little afraid of Big Everest, who I don't think is as good as Major Dude, but when he gets everything his own way, he's pretty good. And obviously, he got a ridiculous ride from last time from Paco. I guess Paco didn't look at his PPs and didn't realize he was a need-to-lead type horse. Probably won't have that problem going forward. But I'm afraid of him because every time I try to knock him down, he seems to end up beating me because he can get pretty game on the front end. So I think
Absolutely.
he's lost a bit of a step this year, even though he won
That's
his that
fair.
race. I think he's a little worse than he was.
I mean, I think outside of these two and just what they've done in terms of the resumes that they've built so far and who they've faced, it's a long way back to really make a strong case for somebody else. And
I agree.
to think that neither of them are going to show up.
I agree with you. I totally agree. If somebody else wins, I don't know who it is. And I tried to make a case, and I couldn't. I am with you on that. We'll break after 6, Eddie. Race number 5. I thought race number 5 actually was kind of a fun race a little bit. We'll take a look at the Seeker's Hope race. The Seeker's Hope, and nice try, Riley ran 2-3 in. And I have no argument that these horses can win this race. My problem in general is there's too many other horses that I think are just much more interesting to take the horses that finish second and third to the heavily favored Leading Hope, who's not really that good either. And I just feel like this is a race you want the strangers, and I think you tend to agree.
I do. And look, these are horses that normally I would try to poke some holes in the horses that are going to be shorter prices than them because they have some questions to answer
'Cause there
dropping
are
in
holes in
class
them.
and off long time away, and horses that we just really haven't necessarily seen much from. But at the same time, you're looking at horses and a couple of them that coming in here potentially have that upside to do well in a spot like this versus others. There is that question mark with horses like Shadow Surge, Noguchi, even Volunteer Fireman. And I think this overall, if one of those horses can run in here, it's going to be a little bit tougher than the
Talk
horses
about
that
Shadow
they faced.
Surge.
Look, this one did show some early speed in the debut, and then obviously we haven't seen this horse in quite some time since then. It's been over a year since this one was here and ended up being DQ'd to 4th from that spot. But took money first time out, which I think was meaningful. I think they're just being realistic about where this horse might belong now.
I think they are too. George Weaver has lousy numbers, 250-day plus layoffs in dirt sprints. He's 2 for 16, 38-cent ROI. He's 0 for 2 dropping down, or 0 for 3 maiden special to maiden claimer with that move, and I don't disagree. I'm wondering if he and the 5 are going to be closer in odds than the 5-2 and 6-5.
Possible.
Because Shadow Surge has that look, and listen, I'm not saying he can't win. He absolutely can win this race, and I don't disagree with a single thing that you said, except the intangibles. The intangibles for me on this horse are significantly negative. I think you're right. They're running him where they hope he can win, but that's because he just isn't very good, and they're on the bottom.
It's a
Now, you
loss.
could say the same thing about Noguchi. You know, Noguchi did not run that badly on July 30th. The rail was not necessarily the place to be. I mean, Linda's got V Cruiser entering
Later.
against much tougher horses
Absolutely.
later. And it's not like she doesn't think that horse is good. To be running in that race, she must think he's
Right.
pretty good. And yet this horse, she has no problem dropping. So he's
Right.
clearly got issues too. She scratched out of a race last week where she ended up having like a 1-9 shot that didn't hit the board. And this horse, she scratched out of that field. Now she's running here. She obviously wants less distance. I think he's kind of the horse to beat, but man, I don't want him at 6-5 on top.
And I think it's that move that really is telling because we know that Linda's not afraid to step her horses up if she thinks that that's where they belong. She's not.
Well, she's also not afraid to drop them.
Right, but she's going to put them in a spot that she deems appropriate, and it's usually something that ends up being correct. So if that is the correct assumption with a horse like this, I don't necessarily want him at 6-5, even though he does have that faster dirt race.
I like Volunteer Fireman in here, who's also been announced gelding. That's not why I like him. He's got only one dirt
It's
race. I don't know why this horse has run 4 times on the turf. 3 times in the turf and once in the dirt.
Yeah, his turf
because I think
races
his
aren't
dirt
good.
race is better than his turf race. Race was not that bad. It wasn't a great race, but it wasn't that bad. And he showed a lot of speed that day. I looked up some stats. Excuse me. Maiden special weight to maiden claimers in dirt sprints for Derek Ryan. He's 3 for 12, 5 hitting the board. He's 1 for 1 at Aqueduct. Horse draws a good outside stalking spot, so he can use his speed, but he doesn't need to just run off in here. And I think the 4 and 5 may run 1-2 here, but I also think they're both pretty flawed. So I thought I'd take a shot with this one at a
He's
better
the
price.
other one if you're looking for somebody outside of those two. I agree completely. At least he's dropping in class.
Race number 6, and we'll break after 6. I'm going to go back 2 races to Aggregation running second before his abysmal performance last time out. And in this race, Palace Boss was a mediocre third. Now, he almost got up to beat Butta, who scratched later today. I am not Aggregation's biggest fan, but I will say, excuse me, he ran super in this race and if he runs this race, he's going to beat this field. And I think he's the controlling speed in this field. I know he didn't run well last time, but I kind of wondered if he's a horse that ran really well, coming off of a 15-month layoff, Dropped back a little in his second start. Now in his third start, we see the better effort. I know he's the morning line favorite. I don't love him in here. I thought about picking Landoro, but I think Aggregation's going to get it done today.
I mean, if we're following that pattern of him actually stringing 3 races together, then we're looking at what's going to be a big effort from him based on history. But at the same time, he also had that progressive move forward, and that was a long time ago. And it's been a long time since he's been able to put 3 races together. So I just have some questions with him, a horse that's run well off of the layoff twice now, but he hasn't been able to have those 3 races consecutively. And that's a little bit of a concern for me at a short price.
Take a look, talk about Palace Boss.
He's just one that has a little bit more of that consistency where, yes, that last race was much better than the one that he ran against Cut the Cord, finishing behind Aggregation. I think that if they go back to that race that we took a look at, Aggregation will defeat him again. But with Palace Boss, he doesn't have that race last time that seems to be going in the wrong direction. And he's been on the racetrack a bit more consistently than a horse like Aggregation has. Do I think that he's necessarily better on his best day? No. But at the same time, I trust him a little bit more.
I'm scared of Landoro, but I'm always scared of Landoro. I constantly picked him, and he kept constantly losing races, and he's a little hard to trust. He has been gelded since his last start. He gets Ricardo, and he's the horse I'm going to use to back up. I'm going to hope that Aggregation is better than the ones that he's been facing, and I'm going to use Landoro. What about Russian Realm? Can he run it all anymore?
I don't know. I mean, he has some excuses for the last 2 starts on dirt, I will say. I think that he's had some trouble at the start of both of those. And I think that when he was running in that Empire Classic, that's a race that can easily be forgiven. But then just the move to turf where he ran okay, I don't know with him.
His last mile race was very good. I didn't pick him. I don't trust him either. I've got him 4th, but I am not going to be surprised when he runs okay today. That's the first 6. We'll be back with the late pick 5 after a quick break.
You bet with Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the Naira Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing, get expert picks, boost your bankroll with weekly promotions, and hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the Naira Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with Naira Bets.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Sarah and Andy, race number 7 kicks off the late pick 5. Make sure you opt in for the $5,000 hit and split. The Rick Violet Stakes with Leon Blue beating Sounds Like a Plan. I think what's key in this race is that Leon Blue showed he can still run well by rating because there is other speed in here with Sounds Like a Plan and Dear Chairman.
Absolutely. And I think that this ride made a huge difference in this race for him to be successful because he was one that had sort of shown that one dimension. And yet here we're taking a look at a horse that's able to really be game. And I thought that this was a nice ride by Christopher Elliott to get the job done in this spot. I know that we see often the Melanie Giddings horses really pick up over the summer at Saratoga, and then that isn't always momentum that is sustained. So that is a bit of a concern to me. But at the same time, I think he's just been facing some decent horses overall. And last time he showed that good early speed, but he also broke through the gate before that race. Maybe that was something that frazzled him a little bit.
Maybe he was just running against better horses.
There is also that possibility as well. The Saranac was a decent field that he was running in where we saw Asbury Park.
Well, Asbury Park didn't have a good trip in there.
No, but he came back to run okay. And I think that overall, look, he's just one that isn't going to be at a disadvantage early. And he showed at least that he can sit off.
I don't like him here, but I can understand the argument for him. I can understand the argument for a lot of horses. And I went in a different direction. I'm not thrilled with Sounds Like a Plan, who had to work way too hard last time and is figures to face some pressure up front in this race. I wanted to use one of two horses in this race. One is Saratoga Flash, who I think last time probably needed a race, coming off a little bit of a layoff. He made a move, maybe a little bit premature, the way the race played out. I don't think that Lane did anything wrong. I just think the way the race played out, it collapsed, and he kind of made the first move into it. Now he switches to Dylan Davis. I think he's got plenty of races that are good enough to win this. And I think Cable Ready, who's not really a likely winning type horse, he actually ran pretty well last time with a wide trip. I do think the 9 did more work getting there, and he was taking advantage of the race collapsing, but he was never inside. He was mostly 3 wide throughout the running in that race. Picks up Jose Lezcano. I think he makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to focus on the 3 and 9 in this race as the main 2 that I want. I don't know why I don't like Dear Chairman. I wrote down, this is my fault, I like 9352. If you guys could fix that, it's 9352. It's totally on me. I don't like Dear Chairman at all. I think it's ridiculous in here. But I do think Rambling Wreck is a little interesting because Rambling Wreck was totally blocked against better horses 2 back trying to move. Now, last time he didn't run well, but that was a funny race where it just felt like the closers never got into the race, and I think that he can win in here. I think Rambling Wreck is kind of a weirdo. I'm going to use all of them, 3, 5, and 9.
He just gives himself so much to do.
I know, but there should be pace in this race, Sarah.
There should be, but will there be? We'll see. I mean, I think that with this one, you are looking at least 3 to 4 players that should have some forward position. So perhaps, but at the same time, he just ends up being so far out of things early, and that leads me to not necessarily trust, but he will be more of a price today if you want to say, hey, he's got the races to go back to, and he has the consistency where he does seem to at least show up.
See what happens in race number 7, race number 8. So the weird thing about race number 8 is that the horse who comes in the race in the best form is kind of a hard horse to take. And we'll take a look at Good Luck Chuck, who had his 2nd of double-digit wins for Robbie Bales, who doesn't come here too often. And he's had a little, I don't know if he's won, but I think he's had a horse run 2nd. I think he may have actually had a winner at a price coming here. And he's got fast figures, but he's doing them against really bottom-level horses. But at least he's in good form, coming into a field that's not in great form.
No, they're not. And look, he's winning easily against nobody, but at least he's showing up with races that are fast enough to still compete here and seems to be doing it very easily. And if he brings in either of those last 2 races, and we see some of what we've seen lately from many of these horses, he's still going to be good enough to win in this spot.
I could never bet him, but I can understand liking them. I'm going to show Laughing Boy's last race, and you can talk about Coinage, who's probably going to be stalking him.
Yeah, I think that Coinage is an interesting one coming in now. Trainer change over to Joe Sharp, a horse that's run well on both surfaces as well as synthetic, but he's one that his form has totally fallen apart, and this just seems like a very logical spot for him. They're putting the blinkers on him. Maybe they try to be aggressive with him. Laughing Boy, I just think that the field that he was in last time versus a couple of horses coming in here in some better form, as well as a couple that might want to be forward, it's just tough for me to take claimed away from Linda
I don't
Rice.
want, well, not just that. He's claimed away from David Jacobson. Now he's going to Wayne Potts from Linda, and I just wonder if the clock is striking 12 on him. I don't disagree with you on Coinage. I also don't believe that he's going to be 5 to 1 in here. I think a lot of people are going to see the drop down. Joe Sharp's horse is winning. He's taking a lot of money, so I wonder if he's going to be vying for favoritism. And now I have no problem with He's Got This, who's coming to good races, but I mean, they claim for 12.5. They run him for 40, and he steps up. But I think all he shows is that off the turf race with Loco Barrio, that wasn't really a 40. And he's just a logical horse off his last couple of races. But he's a little dressed up off that sloppy track race. And I wonder if people are not going to fall for him as much as they could.
And look, finishing 2nd to Valenzen Day, who is a nice, consistent type. There's still other horses in this race that could arguably be tougher than that.
I guess. I mean, the problem with Coinage is, and I don't disagree with you. He's dropping to the bottom. He can clearly win. He's also looking like the clock might have just completely struck 12 for him. It's not like this horse hasn't shown the ability to run a turf. And his last 2 races were just abysmal. So and the big drop, and I don't disagree. I would never play a multi and leave him out. I think he's very dangerous. Listen, I think Skylander dropping back to the bottom is not impossible to get a piece in this race. I probably should have put him 4th instead of 5th. I'm betting Quiet Wisdom. We don't see this trainer claim too many horses, but off the claim in dirt routes, he's 5 for 13 with a 644 ROI, and he's 2 for 2 doing it at Naira. So I think that's interesting. And he got completely left last time. He certainly would have been 2nd if he didn't get left in that race. The race did fall apart, but he glued him to the rail, and I don't think he ran that badly. He's got back races that are good enough in here.
It's not his running style.
I like Quiet Wisdom. I just think I like the new barn, and I think he's a dangerous horse, and I think he ran pretty well for a Deloro. I don't think he ran as badly as it looks. We'll see what happens in race number 8. Race number 9. This is a funny race, race number 9, and we'll take a look at Burning Glory, who I have 2nd and you have on top. I made a huge bet on him last time, and listen, tap into this, came back, improved 7 buyer points the next time. He's in great form. He's won 3 straight races for Steve Asmussen, and he may just be improving and probably win. I just feel like I didn't want to take him today at a much shorter price.
Which is completely fair. I mean,
I think
looking.
it was a big price last time, but
well,
very well.
he's going to be a short price yet again in here and potentially.
well, Tustin
short.
Gold is going to take a lot of money.
He is, but at the same time, I mean, it's going to be these two that take the bulk of the wagering. And look, he did have that big improvement last time where he is that 3-year-old that was on that early Kentucky Derby trail. Didn't work out that way. Ran okay to finish third, a distant third behind Burnham Square and Tapan Street. But I think he showed last time that he had that room for a step forward.
He's the horse to beat. No, he's a horse that, right, he just showed the routine improvement, coming back later in the year. There's nothing wrong with him. With Tuscan Gold, we'll look at last time. He can win, and I always kind of like these cutbacks to a 1-turn mile. My problem is this is a Chad Brown horse that I liked in the Preakness, and I think the wet track really hurt him that day, and he didn't run badly in running 4th. I mean, he's now had 3 chances coming back, and he's lost every one of them, including this one where he could have won. And I just feel like he's tiresome. He's had his chances. He might win,
And
but
isn't he
I'm not picking
kind
him.
of running the same race? And I like that he was a little bit more forward last time, given the kind of short field that he was in. But I don't know. I mean, Valentinian rallying to finish third in there, who is kind of that plotting type.
He's not that good. Classicist is okay.
Classicist is okay. I do beat him, but I don't know. I think the race 2 back especially, I wish that he had done a little bit better in that one.
Well, nobody did close any ground in that race, but you're right. He runs the same figure every time, which may be good enough to win in here.
Sure.
I'm going to take Brazenly, who's shipping in for Will Walton. I find him to be a very, very dangerous trainer, obviously. He's got back figures that can beat these horses. And in his last race, I wondered if you really wanted to be right on the rail that day. And he was right down on the rail. Irad eased him late. He didn't have to lose by that much. Kind of eased and exaggerated the loss. I don't think it was that bad a race overall. He was even money. Now he draws a comfortable outside post. And he's going to be the 3rd choice behind the 3 and 8. So I took him as the alternative in here, coming in from out of town for a trainer who does seem to ship a lot of horses that win. And he's got nothing but back races. The only problem with him is he's not a winning type.
No, but his California dirt races are all consistently faster for the most part than what we've seen from horses like Tuscan Gold. And even, yes, the last race from Burning Glory was a step forward, but he does have just that one.
Yeah, I wanted to make Filoso a little bit in here because he does feel like a horse that'll run better with more distance. But I know his last race was a prep. He didn't do any running at all in that race.
No, he just kind of stayed in place.
But I think he's one who can improve second off a layoff. The barn's been going well. And if you look at his last year's races, he could easily get a figure closer to 90 coming back as a 3-year-old. So I didn't think he was totally impossible to price.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit of a tough spot, but he has the upside.
And Linda's running V Cruiser in seemingly a very aggressive spot in here. So either the connections really like or she really likes, but this is a tough spot for this horse. I also think Weightless is a little interesting. Got a lousy ride last time. I just wonder if he's
And is he
really-
going to be forgotten with all these other horses coming?
He may not be good enough, to be honest. Race number 10 is the Glen Cove, which is a fun, competitive race. And we'll go back and we'll look at the Galway, where it's Galway, I think, right? I got yelled at for using the Irish pronunciation. I have no idea which one is which. Galway and Galway. I think it's Galway. Obviously, this is from the name for the town near Saratoga, not the one in Ireland. I don't know. I know that Idle might get loose again. I just wonder if you're going to see some more pressure on this horse today.
I thought there would be.
Don't they have to be more forward, slightly busy? It didn't work out at all last time trying to rate him.
Meet Governor's likely to be forward as well. I thought.
I don't think he can run with that horse. But
No? Okay.
No.
I thought that
I think he'll be
closer.
closer. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's Ricardo. I think the horse that ran best out of that race was Abiento.
Yeah.
The problem is, I don't know. I've still got a horse that's going to be coming from well out of it. It's not clear, and I wanted to have horses that were a little bit more forward. I struggled with this race, to be honest, and took a horse that would be a little bit of a price. I have nothing against Love Cervere. I won't be surprised if Pop Idol's able to wire the field again. I just wanted to go in a different direction.
Yeah, which is fair, and kind of the thinking that I had as well of a horse that's an unknown on this surface. But looking at George Weaver's numbers as he switches horses from dirt to turf with non-maidens sprinting, they're pretty decent. He's 7 for 29 over the past 5 years, 45% in the money with a $2.17 ROI overall. So usually when he makes a switch like this, it's something meaningful. And I think that this horse hasn't run that poorly on the dirt either. I think that a little bit of a difficult start behind horses like Praying and Delightful Claire in that prioress. Praying we saw come back and win yet again at Keeneland.
Well,
in
ran
another
the same figure in winning.
but still won a stakes, coming back again. And Delightful Claire, even though she finished second in there, seems like a decent horse as well. I don't know how good this horse ultimately is, but if she can transfer her dirt form over here, I just didn't think there were necessarily any killers in this
Well,
field.
my problem is if she transfers her dirt form, she's going to finish 6th if she's lucky. I think she's got to improve, and I don't see the pedigree to suggest that she's going to improve.
I don't
from
either,
here.
so that's completely
so
fair.
That worries me. She's going to be a price. She's a wild card. I don't. It's not my cup of tea, but she's a total wild card. Maybe she will run better in the turf. It's certainly possible. I just felt like there were a lot of horses near that had enough form that she was going to have to run pretty well to beat these horses. Anaskal, we look at her last race, and I know that this was a field that was significantly inferior, but she just destroyed these horses. I mean, absolutely crushed them in there. And you're talking about a horse that had run well enough early in her career that it's not surprising, and she could belong in this field. And maybe this last race is sort of a confidence boost she needs, and she can be forward a bit and get position. I'm scared of her.
If this is a sign of things to come, then we might see a horse that's just improving and has been running against the likes of these and not disgracing herself by any means. I just sort of wondered what kind of trip she was ultimately going to pull out in a spot like this where some of her better races have been forward. I don't know how much speed ultimately there is going to be in here, but I just want to see her sort of do it against a stakes quality field where she's not running for minor placings more so than behind some of the
I think
horses
these
that she
horses
faced
are
before.
relatively evenly matched. I like Me Governor in here. I thought Me Governor's last race actually wasn't that bad, ran pretty well. And you start looking through this horse. This horse was competitive, beat Anaskal last year when she went in the Stewart Manor. She can be forward. She really, you look at her races, I mean, you tried her at a mile in the Hilltop. I don't think any of her races, I mean, losing by only a length, She's So Spicy, and the race in the down at Gulfstream was pretty good. And I just feel like she might be the one trending in the right direction, and thought she'd be a fair enough price. So I put her on top as one of the players. But I mean, this race is absolutely wide open. I mean, there aren't that many horses that have no chance. Even the horse you have 4th, It Ain't Two is not impossible. She got kind of a
I think she's had
ridiculous
some
trip last
crazy
time
trips,
out.
yeah.
You've got Abiento in there. I don't know. I've always liked her. Is she getting enough pace to close into? That's the problem. She has no speed.
No,
and
she
I bet her
doesn't.
last time,
And-
or 2
and
times ago.
Look, she's one that I can forgive the last race at Kentucky Downs where she's running behind She's So Spicy. She wasn't bet at all in that spot. She's
It's out
shown
in the
up.
middle of the racetrack the whole way around the track.
Right. She's bet in spots where when she hasn't shown up, I feel as though she's had excuses for not doing so. But she is compromised in here
My
yet again.
problem with her is that she doesn't have the race. You know what I mean? You look through these horses, and everybody in here, a lot of them have the race that's good enough to win here. She doesn't really, and I think she ran pretty well too back when I bet her. And I thought, when you consider the worst wire of the field, but where's that big fig? Where's that 87
doesn't
buyer?
exist.
Where's the, I'm not totally against her. She's 8-1, and I could certainly use her. I just went in different directions.
If
but
you
this
want to
is-
see her take a step forward, I completely understand that because, look, I thought her matron was good, but that's still a race that even with some progressive improvement, it's not necessarily fast enough to win here.
Italian Soiree should be, and a number of these horses should be a sort of a word of warning to people. Don't chase the money at Kentucky Downs. I get it. I understand. You have a horse, you see those purses, you want to be in there, but you see a horse, they finally got her going in the right direction. Then they went down there, and it worked out horrendously. You look at Abiento, same thing. These horses were 36-1, 21-1. Believe me, I understand the idea of taking shots, especially in prestigious races, and the money's so good. But the truth is, that money grab down at Kentucky Downs, it just seems that people get distracted by it, and they take horses and they just put them in the wrong spots. Race number 11. This race is some race to close out today's card. This was a very, very tough race. We'll take a look at the 5, Eldolari, who ran a race, a big figure last time. It would be tough. But it's so much aberrationally better in every fig you look at last time. I kind of want to see it again. And I know Anexperience scratched out of this race, but you've still got Kid Creasa, who's forward. And I just thought Terminal Velocity is going to go a little bit with Jose. She can win, but I'm not thrilled.
I am not either, and I've tried this horse a couple of times when he has run on this circuit, and I think that he's
had the
run
run of the race in here.
respectably. But last time out, should have gotten the job done, right? And that is a number that does stand out relative to the last 2 races that we've seen here at NYRA, where, yes, this is a horse that was really compromised, I thought, 2 back, where he didn't get any forward position, but I don't really see that much of an excuse for the race 3 starts ago, where he ended up finishing second in there.
What about
third.
what did I miss with Mo Creasa?
Just a level of consistency from this horse where he's been running against types like these, where he sat a little bit closer last time with Ricardo Santana Jr. aboard, who is going to be back on and here. I know that Mr. Tonic wasn't exactly a winning type, but he kind of has changed things around as of late, so I don't really hold it against him for being a bit wide and outfinished by him 2 races back. He needs to perhaps show up with a race like last time, and I thought that he got a nice inside trip in there, but I thought that he was going to be one that probably got a similar type of trip yet again today.
Okay. I like Zapruder a little bit. Got completely eliminated last time. Was taken out into the middle of the racetrack early in there. That was a race dominated forward, dominated inside. He had no chance. Time before that, I don't think he ran great. He got a big pace to minutes, but he's coming off a long layoff, and I don't think it was a terrible effort. The scratch of the 7 takes out some of the speed, so I don't like it as much. But he has run some good races in the past. He's run fair enough figures. I don't know if he's quite good enough, but I think that he is better than he looks off his recent races, so I took him in here. We have to mention the 13 that gets into the AEs. We both put second. This horse, obviously, he doesn't like to win, but I mean,
hasn't he just been facing some better horses
just been
overall?
in tougher spots. He was wide against the bias last time out. You know, he's not a winning type, but he feels like a horse that's very dangerous to at least get a piece.
And the barn has been picking up considerably, which I think is something where we see some sort of
horses are just running,
streakiness where we don't always know what we're going to get, but they've really been turning things on lately. So I think that this one getting in and just the kind of company that he's been keeping. I like Jose Lezcano getting aboard this horse towards the outside in here. It doesn't really bother me. He can be a little bit tactical as well. I think that he's a major contender.
Yes, I agree. I don't think he likes to win, but I certainly think he can be a player. I think Terminal Velocity is dangerous as well. Thank you, Sarah. We'll see what happens. Interesting card today. A lot going on in the card. I don't think it's a card that's filled with short-priced horses, so hopefully there'll be some opportunities. Head over to NYRA Bets. That's always an opportunity. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. We have a 10% exacta bonus at Keeneland. We have a 10% win bonus at Delaware. We have a $5,000 hit and split in the late pick 5 here. That'll be races 7 through 11. We've got a cross-country pick 5, a couple at Keeneland, a couple at Laurel, and 1 here. That's a fun sequence, actually. Quick opinion on the QE2?
I think it's open, but I think you have to focus on the horses that are coming in, the one undefeated for Grand Motion, as well as Fionn. But I think Lush Lips a little bit interesting towards the inside.
Okay. I thought Laurelin was way the horse to beat, Mr. Obvious. Obviously, Fionn's fine in there. I do think Opulent Restraint is a danger to wire the field in there. We'll see what happens. She is the controlling speed. All right, and we're on. You ready? 12 noon. I got to get up there till 2:30 on FS2, 2:30 to 4:30 on YouTube, and 4:30 to 5:30 on FS2. What could go wrong? We'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you. Thank you. Chris Griffin, thank you in advance. He'll be up next. The reprise, the scratch and changes. Enjoy your Saturday here at the Big A.
You bet with NYRA Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the NYRA Bets app to play today and get a $200 deposit bonus. Watch live horse racing. Get expert picks. Boost your bankroll with weekly promotions. And hone your handicapping skills with exclusive tips and tutorials. Download the NYRA Bets app now. Sign up now to claim your $200 deposit match bonus. You bet with NYRA Bets.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Belmont at the Big A. At this time, we ask that you please rise, remove your caps as we honor America with the playing of the national anthem. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the New York Racing Association and Live Racing Belmont at the Big A. 11 races on today's Saturday afternoon card. Main track is fast. Turf is firm. Coming up, today's scratches and changes for 11 races. Belmont at the Big A. Race